Broadcasting live from atop the Rocky Mountains, the crossroads of the West. You are listening to the Liberty Roundtable Radio Talk Show.
All right. Happy to have you along, my fellow Americans. Sam Bushman live on your radio. Hard-hitting news the networks refuse to use. No doubt starts now. This, my fellow Americans, is the broadcast for, April the 1st in the year of our Lord, 2025? I ain't fooling. This is for reals, ladies and gentlemen. We're really live, we're really on the air, and we've really got a whole lot to deal with. And for reals, the good sheriff's in the house. April Fool's, Sheriff Mack. Welcome, sir.
Yes, my favorite day, Sam. Anyway, it's great to be with you this beautiful Tuesday morning.
Hold on, you're not kidding?
No, yeah, I'm kidding. But just because I'm such a cut-up sometimes, April 1st kind of fits my personality, but it is not one of my favorite days. And my mom always did something on it. Always tried. After a while, I said, Mom, give it up. You've done it. You've cried wolf about 20
too many times.
So,
did you pass that along to your kids then?
A little bit, yeah.
All right.
But we've gotten to where we don't try it anymore. And then Mandy tried one time, and way back 20 years ago when she was pretty young, and she was actually living in Florida for a few months, working there and stuff. And she had one of her friends call and say that she went out on the ocean and never came back.
Oh, shoot. That's not a good thing to say. That's going too far.
One of the rules. That's one of the rules. Yeah, that's one of the rules. You can't say somebody was in an accident and they're in the hospital and or that they might be dead, which is what they pulled off. And Mandy apologized for it profusely and over and over. And I said, yeah, Mandy, that's going too far, because accidents and people do get hurt on April 1st. And, what do you expect us to do? So we were calling all over and then I even stopped and I said, they wouldn't have made this up, would they? I asked Dawn that, and she goes, Mandy wouldn't do that, so. But
there you have it.
She's always been in trouble for that, but no, it's water under the bridge now. But yeah, there's certain rules that you have to follow.
Everybody's always got kind of a regret in their lives that they look back to.
Yeah.
If that's the least of the worries.
Whatever.
Hey, it's not too bad. You got to say that. Now, I find this also interesting. There's a headline that says that Donald Trump decided he's going to abolish the IRS today. Did you hear that?
No, I didn't hear it today. No, and I've been watching the news this morning, but I haven't seen or heard anything about that.
Yeah, there's a headline saying he's abolishing the IRS. Now, that is an April Fool's joke. I just wish it was true.
Yeah, if that would be a great April Fool's present. But yeah, that needs to happen, and I guess he is taking some action or recommending some things with Planned Parenthood that are steps in the right direction.
Well, and I hope we shut down all funding to Planned Parenthood. I hope we abolish the IRS. We've already got tariffs added to the mix, and now that it's affecting cars, it's going to really start affecting Americans in the very negative near future if we don't really get a handle on this quickly and decrease government take on the other side of the equation. This is serious, and I don't understand. The Democrats complain about this, and I'm not really in the Democrats' pocket on this one. But I will say, at some point, if you add tariffs to the mix and it'll increase costs for the American people, where are you going to decrease on the other side? And so far, I've heard nothing but talk, and I ain't April fooling neither.
Yeah, and there's something that they were talking about, Sam, at the beginning of this about 2 months ago, and that was to audit the gold that is supposed to be at Fort Knox.
Yeah, I thought they were going to roll in there with like a reality TV show, like lamps on their forehead. We're going in, people.
Yeah, exactly. And then all that you heard was that they were moving some gold from Europe over to banks in America. Were those banks trying to get that money into Fort Knox? And did they do it? But I know they were moving gold very desperately.
Yeah, the headline says, "Why are U.S. banks flying gold from London to New York?" is the exact headline, Sheriff.
Exactly, yeah. So what was with that, and why is that not being talked about, and why do we not know? The American people do not know where their gold is still. so yeah, it's astonishing. But Sam, there was one thing
I know where my gold is. I just don't know where the people's gold is, Sheriff.
Yeah, exactly. But there's one thing that you brought up, and
yes,
that
sir.
is Planned Parenthood, and
yes.
something
Shut
needs
those
to be
suckers
discussed
down.
Here. Well, of course, but there's another thing. There's another point to this, and it's this: the churches of this country, including yours and mine, but all of them, that do not come out publicly against of taxpayer dollars going to a private organization such as Planned Parenthood. It's the worst expense, it's the most evil expense, and it's the most corrupt expense that we have with taxpayer dollars. Over $700 million a year now to killing babies.
Yeah, it's taxpayer-funded murder is what it is.
But this is the point. And according to the proper role of government, and according to the fact that we, the people, are in charge of this government, and the Declaration of Independence, that we have a right, we have a duty to throw off evil, corrupt, tyrannical government. This is the thing. We cannot excuse ourselves by thinking that's government doing that, and we have no say in the matter, and we just have to keep telling our parishioners and members of our churches to keep paying that, despite how evil and horrible it is. We cannot hire an agent. In this particular case, our government officials, whether it be president or congressman or whoever, doesn't matter who they are, we cannot hire them to do that and then find ourselves innocent of providing the means to do this. We are paying. Let's be real serious here. We've said this on your show before. We are paying for these abortions. We are funding these abortions. We're not only funding the abortions, we're funding the funneling of money to Planned Parenthood, and they funnel it back to the politicians who provide them the money in the first place. This is so corrupt and so evil, but we cannot consider ourselves innocent of doing this, of paying for this, and when we are the ones in charge, especially when we say nothing about it. And this is where the churches have got it wrong. You are not innocent because your government is doing this. In fact, you are indeed guilty. And that's why I've said, I'm going to stop doing this very soon because I feel guilty about it. I know the truth. I know the proper role of government. And I know that we, the people, and especially the churches, are the ones that are supposed to be stopping this. And hardly any churches are doing that. And I'm sorry to say this, Sam, ours is not doing this.
Well, and the interesting thing to me is if the churches were doing all that they could to oppose this, then I would say, to use a term from the scriptures, their skirts would be clean. But the problem is when you don't actually really weigh in or take action or use your influence for good. I mean, they say in government circles, hey, all it takes for evil to prosper is for good men to do nothing. And I think the same principle applies here, right? Now, if the churches were doing all they could and we still can't get it stopped, then I think that they have, hey, we're doing the very best we can. But I don't think that the churches are active in this at all. In fact, it's almost like they don't want to touch it because they think it's political. To me, it's not political at all. It's a moral discussion, right?
Of course. Yes, of course. And this is really phenomenal that the churches are trying to hide from this. And it's something you cannot hide from. It is happening, and you either are against it or you're not. And to continue to fund this as if we have no choice in the matter. We do have a choice in the matter. Excuse the pun, but we believe in choice. We believe in agency, and we believe in taking action against the evil that exists in our world. And boy, this is one of them.
Now, I find that this interesting. I see all over the internet, Republicans want to end Planned Parenthood. They're asking the Supreme Court for help. Trump administration cutting some funds to Planned Parenthood. But I don't see a nationwide cry. I see the pro-life organizations in Washington, always January around the 20th or whatever, a little after, or February, they have their pro-life events, and I commend them. They just had theirs, and good for them. But I don't really see a consistent effort across the board. The next headline says, Trump administration to freeze family planning funds for Planned Parenthood. Reuters. Okay, but I don't see any sustained, constant work together to get this done. Let's skip the break. It's just, in my mind, the kind of thing where it's like a piecemeal at best. And they say fully empower GOP targets Planned Parenthood. I don't see it. Okay, we're just waiting for the courts to take care of it. Congress wants to do nothing. What has Congress even done at all since they
Congress could pass defund Planned Parenthood today.
And maybe they couldn't get it done because they don't have the numbers. But then my response to that would be, hey, let's start publishing.
Do have the numbers. That's just it. They have the numbers.
Yeah, that's right.
They could get this passed.
That's right. But they won't because they have betrayers in their midst. But I think you could get a few Democrats to go along with this too. And I think what you need to do is pitch it to the American people. Look, we're not going to fund murder anymore. We're not doing that with your tax dollars. This is a very simple discussion if we really put it where it is. The only reason it lasts like it does is because we allow them to wordsmith very satanic, evil, murderous intent into these buzzwords that make you feel like, oh, it's a choice. You know, we call a murder abortion. You know, we call partial birth. It's not partial birth. If they kill you when you're coming out, it's partial death to complete death, right on the spot, funded by your government. See, we've got to start calling a spade a spade. We've got to start to show ultrasounds. Senator Mike Lee has talked about this. He said, you know what, with ultrasounds and some of the new technology, everybody knows the truth. It isn't about debating the truth now. It's about us letting them get away with the continuous murderous agenda that we've got to stop.
Right.
Anyway, we digress, except this is very important, and we stand on the side of life, and we want to work with our churches across the country to absolutely shut down this murderous Planned Parenthood funding. Let's jettison the funding and start there. You know, your opinion on it can be set aside, but do we need federal dollars or, you know, government tax dollars going to that? And the answer is a clear, resounding no, we do not. All right, This is an interesting story that I want to dig into, and I don't really understand it all, and I don't understand why they haven't been getting some critique here. Headline says, company that supplies made-to-order crowds for political protests. I guess it notes a major decline. The Democrats aren't using these groups like they used to, and everybody's kind of freaking out. American News Nation is the one that has the piece here. Believe it or not, there's a company called Crowds on Demand. I kid you not. Go look this up on the internet. It's called crowdsondemand.com. They say it's your home for impactful advocacy campaigns, demonstrations, PR stunts, crowds for hire, and corporate events. Services are available nationwide, Sheriff. Crowds on demand audiences and campaigns for hire. Anyway, they go on, but read some of this. I had you pull up this website. This thing is astounding. I can literally hire a riot from these clowns.
Yeah.
And so when we've talked about all the riots during the summer of whatever it was, Antifa and all the, how does that all work when you can just literally rent a riot?
Yeah, this is kind of wow. It says contact us. Maybe we ought to contact them. Say, well,
the co-founder of it is a guy by the name of Adam Schwartz. He's CEO of the California-based marketing agency Crowds on Demand. He stated that it represents a significant deviation from prior election cycles. The fact that the Democrats aren't really hiring them right now, and they're kind of frustrated. They're kind of feeling like we need to get this rolling. And you and I marveled at how quiet it was after the Democrats lost big in November, too. And this guy over at Rent a Riot, or whatever, this Crowds on Demand, this guy basically is saying the same thing we're saying. Hey, it's really quiet. They're changing tactic. What's going on here? But when you read this thing, it's weird. The phrasing is very weird. My question is, why does it take someone like me to hunt this down and finger this? And why does it take some group that, is a news group to bring this up to everybody? And no one really knows about this, right? I mean, it's very strange. I don't even know how to respond to this. America News Nation is who brought it to my attention. And then I started to dig and I looked this up and I'm like, what the heck? But you literally can rent a mob, Sheriff. I kid you not. Read what their pages say. And they're literally blatantly tell you, hey, man, you can agitate. You can do all kind of things.
I got it right here. As a prospective customer, the best way to get in touch with us is filling out a request a quote form. Please note, at this time, we are generally not taking on new clients with an event or campaign budget under $20,000.
Yeah, so if you just want to come do a little rent-a-riot, buddy, we're not interested. You got to have a real one.
20,000 isn't that much. I mean, when you're talking about busing people, what? I mean, what are they going to do? How much are they paying each person? I mean, you get 100 people and you're paying them $500 each. There's 20,000. There's 10,000 right there. And
hey,
so you
right.
got to pay the head guys, and you're paying for consulting and signs and wow.
Yeah.
So it's out of Beverly Hills, 8484 Wilshire Boulevard, Suite 515, Beverly Hills, California, 90211. Yeah.
And it's like literally, rent a crowd or whatever you want to say. I don't understand this thing. Should we try it and have a big old huge event, Sheriff? Just bring in thousands of people?
Yeah, if we had $100,000, I guess we could try that.
Because made to order crowds.
But
for
Sam,
political protest, Sheriff. That's what it says on their thing.
Right, of course. So, but I would be extremely shocked if they worked with us, even if we had the money.
Yeah, they won't work with us, Sheriff. I guarantee it. Part of the reason to say, hey, let's try it is to see how they'll respond, right?
Cause. Yeah, I mean, what are they going to do? I mean, support the Constitution, which is what they're out there trying to destroy.
Yeah, get them to promote pro-life and stand up for the stop the baby killing. But if they refuse to work with us, we could sue them like they did the cake guy in Colorado. We'd just sue them and say, hey, you got to represent conservatives too, You got to create a rent-a-riot for the conservatives,
That's a good one, Sam.
The problem is it goes against everything we stand for. Rent-a-riot? I want to peacefully assemble with genuine people in their hearts that believe in what we're doing. I don't want to just rent some clown crowd to just go berserk.
Yeah.
This is literally what they're doing, Sheriff. I kid you not.
They would probably get a hold of, if we'd used them, they would probably get hold of companies or organizations that would want to come and protest, so they would win both sides. Hey, we only got them 100 people. We could probably get you 500 to come and stand against them.
Yes. Who are the competitors?
Freedom.
No, I'm saying who are the competitors of this Crowds on Demand? Or do they have is there a bunch of companies out there that do this? You and I just haven't been tapped in because we're not into opposition research and stuff?
I guess we'd have to Google and see if there's any others. But
there's one called Street Team Promotion Companies, buddy.
Yeah. Now that's capitalism. That's what I call capitalism, getting a company like this.
Street Team. Well, unless we find out they get government money, we'd have to have Doge dig in, but it might be like U.S. aid goes to these people, and it might be you and I funding the thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's one called Rise Event Staff. Push Agency is another one.
Mm-hmm.
They have all kinds of groups that do this kind of stuff. PR and publicity firms.
Yeah, this is something.
Yeah, they have temp worker platforms too. You can just, do a temp work. You're out of work for a couple of days. You can just go riot for a while and then, Anyway, if you guys don't believe this is real, if you think I'm just off my rock on this one, you go to their website and read about it yourself, okay? All you got to go to crowdsondemand.com, and you can check out what I'm talking about. And this, to me, is just bizarre. And what's interesting to me, the most interesting thing to me about it is, how come no one's in the media has told me about this except for this one group? And how come I never knew about this, and all these riots in the summer, and we're wondering how this is happening, where the money's coming from. Oh, it must be dark horse, George Soros money, and it's got to be this and that. All the conspiracy, people go crazy. Turns out, no, they're just hiring a firm out of California.
Well, I've seen similar stuff in the past. For instance, when Sheriff Prince and I were on the Phil Donahue show, way back in 1994. There was a lady in the audience who really got after us, and he gives the audience a chance to ask questions or make comments. And this one lady really got after Sheriff Prince and me about, you're supposed to set the example, you're supposed to be following the law, you're supposed to be trying to protect people and create peace, and gun control and the Brady Bill are just going to help keep people safe. And then we both attacked her back, and just said, hey, you know what, gun control has never made anybody safer. But on the other hand, about just a few weeks later, I was getting ready for the NRA conference where they were giving me the Sheriff of the Year award, or Law Enforcement Officer of the Year award. And Don and I were getting ready, and I had the TV on, and it was Jesse Raphael's show.
Oh, yeah.
The same lady was in there making attacks on whoever she was interviewing. The exact same person. So they've had paid audiences and paid
provocateurs.
Yeah, provocateurs. Yeah, and they've had them for a long time. And there's no way that lady got on both of those shows, and that was just a coincidence.
I would be interested in filling out their form, though, and getting a quote. I don't know that I'd use people like this, because I don't believe in those. I don't believe in those hostile opposition.
I would like to see you try
stoop to the lowest level or whatever else. I don't like that principle, but I would like to see, would they help us, and could we get our own crowds on demand? Could we just put together a big old crowd with some cash and just,
Yeah. That might make our next event look fantastic.
See, that's what I kind of wonder is happening. And even a lot of these big characters that go to some of these events, you wonder how many of those are rent-a-crowd people.
Yeah.
Or, whatever you want to say.
Biden should have used it more. He couldn't get crowds at all, and neither could Kamala. So.
Yeah. Well, Kamala there towards the end, it seemed like she got a few crowds. And the question becomes, how did all that come together? See, you got to follow the money, and you can't just say it's George Soros money. But I'm surprised some reporters haven't picked apart a lot of these at some of these events to just point this out and point directly to some of these companies like this that are doing it, though. I mean, how do these people operate above ground, publicly in the know, promoting what they do? Then we have events happen. I mean, is anybody going to tie it back to these people and hold some people accountable? I haven't seen any of this really around the news, that this is so easily done. I thought you had to be underground politics, George Soros money, secret organizations, Antifa, whatever, Black Lives Matter. You had to be some of these underground groups or no. You can just go rent one. Just get on the internet and tell them, fill out the form and tell them you got way more than 20 grand ready to go, and they're ready to go too. It's like, what on earth? All right. Anyway, I'll try to fill out the form and see what happens. I just want to see if they'll help me. Help me out. Talk to me. How much is it per person? And get some of the deeps on the thing, because I find it fascinating, to say the least. When we get back, should Congress pass a nationwide concealed reciprocity bill as soon as possible? To me, it's a clown question. I'll explain why. The good sheriff's with me, Sheriff Mack, CSPOA.org, as we continue in seconds on your radio.
How would you like to help this program reach more people and earn silver at the same time? Call or text 801-669-2211 for complete details.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Rich Thomason. Wisconsin voters heading to the polls today in a closely watched election for a seat on the state Supreme Court, which has national implications for the future of President Trump's legislative agenda. Former Wisconsin Attorney General Brad Schimmel is the conservative candidate for the Supreme Court.
My opponent went out and promised she was going to engage in congressional map redistricting, which would result in, she said, 2 Republican congressional seats turning Democrat. That's the danger, because you take out 2 Republican congressional districts, and suddenly now you have at the national level, President Trump doesn't have any majority behind him. They see a great opportunity to change not just Wisconsin politics, but American politics.
Polling places in Wisconsin will be open until 7 p.m. local time tonight. Spending in the hotly contested Supreme Court race expected to exceed $100 million. There are 2 congressional races being decided today in Florida. In the 6th district, voters will fill the seat left vacant when Republican Michael Waltz took the job of Trump National Security Advisor. And in the 1st congressional district, the seat that was held by Republican Matt Gaetz is up for grabs. President Trump says the U.S. has been ripped off by its trading partners for way too long, and that's about to end.
The president has dubbed Wednesday Liberation Day. It's when he will raise U.S. tariffs to match what other countries charge. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt.
He's doing this in the best interest of the American worker.
Businesses are unsure what the tariffs' impact will be. The stock market has tumbled over the past few weeks, and Goldman Sachs raised its forecast for inflation. Greg Clugston, Washington.
The powerful storms that hammered the South and the upper Midwest are blamed for at least a half dozen deaths, including 3 children in Michigan. Watching Wall Street, the Dow down 270 points. The NASDAQ is off 34. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Financing a home, especially in today's market, is one of the biggest decisions you'll make for your family. Work with a mortgage company that puts you first. I do. Work with a lender founded on biblical principles like do unto others as you'd have them do unto you. I do. It's Mike Gallagher for the only mortgage company I've used for almost a decade now when financing or refinancing Fellowship Home Loans. I'm friends with the owners, Mike and Brian. I even have them on my show occasionally. I know the care their team puts into every single customer. I can personally tell you that it's a smooth, stress-free process, and that's due to Fellowship's level of service and expertise that puts you in the right loan for your family and your goals. There's a reason Fellowship Home Loans is flooded with 5-star reviews. Whether purchasing a home or a cash-out refi to consolidate some higher interest debt, you can trust Fellowship Home Loans. Start the process. Make the call. 800-510-MIKE, 800-510-MIKE, 800-510-6453. Fellowship Home Loans, mortgage lending by the book.
Nationwide Mortgage Bankers, equalizing lender, NMLS number 819382.
Have you ever had great honey? No, I mean really good, all-natural, raw honey? Well, now you can, thanks to localhoneyman.com. We can ship out our locally made honey all across the U.S. So don't worry, you won't miss out. Plus, Local Honeyman has so many different flavors, like Utah Wildflower, High Desert Delight, Happy Valley, and Blackberry, just to name a few. So purchase your delicious raw honey today at localhoneyman.com.
Do you treasure your liberty? Well, at lovingliberty.net, we most certainly do. And we want to help protect your liberty too. Become part of the family. Everyone knows that the core of any society is the family. Therefore, the government should foster and protect the integrity of its family, we the people. Won't you join us as a Loving Liberty sponsor to help us promote the principles in the 5,000-year leap? Let's restore the miracle that changed the world at lovingliberty.net.
Dad, can you make him stop?
Honey, he needs to practice.
He's been at it an hour.
Well, just trying to be patient.
Dad, it sounds like a cat calling for help or something.
Worse, a basement full of cats.
Yeah.
You know, hon, it is a little hard on the ears.
Not you, too.
Well, maybe we can all play a game. Andrew, do you want to play a board game? How about we watch a video? Hide and seek? Oh, I don't know, I give up.
Maybe we could all just sneak out of the house.
Honey, he's 9 years old. We can't leave him home alone.
Man.
We could make him practice with a sock.
Well, I guess we'll have to get some ice cream.
Did I hear someone say ice cream?
Family. Isn't it about time?
Oh, I see the practice hasn't hurt your ears.
Well, I'm a serious musician. Funny that you never seem to get better on that thing. Works every time.
From the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Hey, where'd all these cats come from?
Broadcasting live from atop the Rocky Mountains, the crossroads of the West. You are listening to the Liberty Roundtable Radio Talk Show.
All right, back with you live, ladies and gentlemen. I just don't understand the clown questions I'm getting asked by conservatives these days. And I don't mean to mock anybody. I don't mean to, but all I'm telling you is I don't get it. Sheriff Richard Mack's with me, CSPOA.org. That's the Constitutional Sheriffs and Peace Officers Association. Become a member of the posse today. By the way, I'm working on a posse commercial for the radio, so that ought to come up soon. And we're also working on a TV version that we can get to a bunch of people, and when we're on different shows, they can run our CSPOA posse commercials. So that ought to be coming out here soon. Anyway, meanwhile, should Congress pass a nationwide concealed carry reciprocity bill as soon as possible? Now, they say we received a massive response from patriots nationwide about the push to pass a nationwide concealed carry reciprocity bill. Now that the issue has been raised in our country and it's received, quote, national attention, it's time to push Congress for this bill. Members of Congress have introduced legislation to make concealed carry permits valid across state lines, and President Trump said he would even sign it. They say we must continue to push to ensure our Second Amendment rights are fully guaranteed across state lines, and we're dedicated to making that happen. That's the Second Amendment Foundation National Poll. Now, if they're asking the question tongue-in-cheek, I kind of get it. But at the same time, and we've been begging for these kind of bills and constitutional carry forever, and it seems like whenever the Republicans get in charge, all they want to do is poll you with questions. Should we abolish the IRS? Yeah. Should we protect the Second Amendment? Yeah. Should we get rid of illegals in the country? Yeah. Should we reduce spending? Hey, Sam, do you think we ought to... Are we beyond that, Sheriff, at this point? Polling me with stupid clown questions? Of course we should shut down the IRS. Of course we should shut down the BATF. Of course we should pass a concealed reciprocity bill. Of course we should... Okay, come on now. They're really asking me this, Sheriff?
I'm not so certain that they have any authority to require permits to carry a gun.
Well, they don't.
So that has to be addressed first. Do they have the authority to say, yes, you can carry a gun nationwide, but you got to have a permit? You have to have our permission. Read the Second Amendment. That's my permit. And so I don't know. I don't see. I see this as being more big government than I do an actual. And look, Sam, this argument and this discussion came up big time when they first started. And I think Florida was the first one that came up with a permit, concealed carry permit. Well, so if you don't have it, like happened in Sheriff Nick Finch's county or Liberty County, it came up. If you don't have the permit, can they arrest you for not having one just because you have a possession of a gun? I'm not doing anything wrong.
And if you're not a constitutional criminal, then you say, yes, government can do whatever they want to. If you obey the law, of course not. There's no authority. Just read your Second Amendment. Shall not be infringed, right?
Yeah, right, exactly. And they're creating criminals out of law-abiding citizens. And so, I do not support this. Philosophically, I do, but technically and legally, I don't, because constitutionally, I don't. And
yeah, what you're saying is we don't need a bill to be passed to give nationwide reciprocity. By the very nature of the Second Amendment, it already exists. Rather than adding new laws to the books or new guidelines or whatever you want to call the weird bill, why don't we just abolish all the impediments to your rights that they've been stripping away in the first place, right?
Exactly. So, yeah. when they went, I compromised, and I think GOA did too. And they, their whole thing is don't compromise. But it's been a problem because they share the list of people who have permits. They share those lists worldwide, and so like one of my friends went to Canada, and they said, "Well, you have guns with you. You have a concealed carry permit in America." So
yeah,
no,
there you go.
It's been a problem.
But what if the bill said this, Sheriff? Would you be for it? Here's what it would say. Criminal governments in the past have pretended they have authority to strip you of your God-given inalienable right of self-defense, codified in the Second Amendment, thou shalt not infringe. Okay? So therefore, all legislative interference is hereby abolished. The Second Amendment stands as written and shall not be infringed this day forward. What if it said that?
Well, that's getting a lot closer. I think, first of all, you can voluntarily go get a permit if you want to. But it has to be voluntary, and it should not have anything to do with whether or not you can carry a gun. Like the person that got arrested in Florida. He was charged with a felony just for having a gun on his person. So, and then,
well, think of the Vem Miller example that, hey, we discussed about Vem Miller and the sheriff down there to him, and they're claiming that he had more bullets than he was allowed to have in his gun. They're complaining that and now they're down to just, I don't even know, a misdemeanor that he had guns in his trunk. I mean, I don't even know what the charges are anymore. It's so vague and manipulated, and to where, man, we've got to get a handle on this for sure. But should Congress pass a nationwide conceal carry reciprocity bill as soon as possible? We're saying the answer is no, folks. And I know you think, well, wait a minute, aren't you guys Second Amendment supporters? We're just telling you that pretty soon you're looking at the legislation, not at your Second Amendment in the first place. In other words, it sounds like we're getting closer, but if you're not very careful, if they can pass a law that says reciprocity, then it maintains that authority that they have, or this pretend authority that they have to manipulate your right to keep and bear arms, and it won't be infringed. Even this reciprocity infringes on your right to some degree because it says they have authority over it. So I don't think if we ought to give them any more, quote, authority, pretend or otherwise, than they've already got, is the point, Sheriff.
Well, it is. And the federal government, I've said this on the show before, the federal government and most state governments, same thing. State and local government, same thing. The only skin they have in the game, the only dog they have in this fight, is to guarantee the right to keep and bear arms. They don't have the authority to establish a national bureaucracy that oversees gun ownership from Hawaii to Bangor, Maine. They do not have that authority. It is just the opposite. They have kept government out of any gun control whatsoever, except, and this Samuel Adams said something very similar to this, except for those who have proven to be unworthy of owning a gun because they have committed crimes with a gun. That person should not be allowed a gun. But they can't keep guns away from them either. After they get out of prison, do they have a right to have a gun again? They've paid their debt to society.
Well, and that's the problem. We've created these second-class citizens with this felony designation to where, just say, take Stuart Rhodes or any of our dear friends who's, by the way, never committed any criminal act with a gun, and they say now he's a felon, he can't have a gun. Or even Donald Trump, can he even have a gun?
Yeah. Yeah, Trump would not be allowed to have a gun. Convicted felon.
Now, if you had Secret Service for the rest of your life, maybe you don't need a gun. But for the rest of us.
But Sam, that's what they said before.
Right.
The IRS and others were trying to make everybody a felon so they couldn't have guns.
Well, that's what they try to do. We've got to stop it. I agree we need to stand up, but we've got to look at this stuff practically and realistically. Well, I got a little bit of good news. I don't think it's enough, but it's a great start. Tom Holman and crew over at Deportation Central. Headline says, March sees another record low for illegal border crossing in Trump's second full month in office. Mike LaChance, thegatewaypundit.com, and he's basically saying, hey, you know what? We've got less people coming to the border than ever before, and record low. I think that's great news, Sheriff. It's a start. It isn't enough, but it's a start.
That is amazing, Sam, and that just shows you what enforcement can do, because it is a deterrent. People don't want to cross the border and go right to jail, and it is having a huge deterrent. And look, the Biden administration wanted them here, and they wanted to get them registered to vote, and that's what they were doing, and that's what it was all about. And so now they're letting them know you can't come in at all, and if you do, you're probably going to go to jail instead of go get a job somewhere or get all these freebies that Biden was giving everybody. So it's working.
It certainly has changed. Now, Florida is in the news over this very topic as well. Florida sheriff's deputies make feds' job easier by catching illegal aliens by the truckload. Julia Rosa, over at the Blaze has the story. Rosas, I guess it is. Julio Rosas. Florida aims to be the number one state in helping the Trump administration arrest illegal aliens. They call it Operation Stone Garden. Has been an ongoing program that allows local law enforcement to work with federal immigration agencies to find these illegals and deport them. I guess Ron DeSantis said he wants to be the number one state in helping the president in carrying this out. And they call it in stark contrast to the Biden-Harris administration. Border Patrol made it very clear that, hey, you know what? We want to go after the criminals for sure, but if you're here illegally, you are subject to arrest as well. For example, I guess these sheriffs in, what's this county in Florida called? Brevard County, I guess it is. Sheriff's deputy pulled over a landscaping truck, had violations. They asked for, this is interesting. They said they asked for identification. Some of them turned over their identification, but one Mexican national only provided his voter ID card. Yeah.
Wow.
He admitted to being in the U.S. illegally, and just like that, he was taken into custody. I think the overall achievement of this makes Brevard County a safer place, says the deputy. Almost 20 minutes later, deputies pulled over another work truck for traffic violations. This time, all four in the truck were illegal aliens. One had a criminal record, and when one was asked for documentation, he provided his, a warrant for deportation. Everyone in the truck was taken into federal custody, and they had to call a tow truck to get the work truck. And in another case, they talked about a Colombian national who did not have a, quote, valid driver's license. I guess, they filled the van they had brought. Once it was full, they took it, and they say, hey, Florida was able to put a container on him so the feds can come pick him up. And since Florida does not have any sanctuary counties, they're able to carry this out, Sheriff. Anyway, it's a big, long article, but I found the details worthy of discussion here. Your thoughts?
Well, it made me think of one other thing when you were telling me all that. Brevard County is Wayne Ivey, who attended our first conference in 2012, and is a good man. And of course, he's wanting to help with deportation and that sort of thing, and that sort of police work is wonderful. Good for them. But there's one other thing, Sam. Who gave them registration to vote? Those people should be investigated. They should do a paper trail, find out where that registration came from, and find the officials that allowed these people to get registered to vote and start doing criminal activity against them. Because, Sam, that is against the law.
No, I know. I agree with you 100%, and we need those arrests to start, but I don't think Trump's planning to arrest anybody, really. A few illegals here and there, but I don't even look, I don't know how many illegals Biden brought in, 20 million? Whatever the number is. We're not even on course to get rid of a quarter of that amount.
No, we're not. We're absolutely.
And so what's going to happen in the 2030 census, all those people are going to be registered for the census, and they're going to change the battle lines for who gets congressional seats and everything else.
But what they have done is they've stopped the bleeding, and that's pretty huge.
Which is huge. Yeah. And they are deporting some of the most criminal among them, too. That's good news, too. So I don't mean to down them and say they're not doing a great job. They're doing a great job. We, the people, and the president and Congress really needs to get behind Tom Homan way more than now. And I think there's a new headline that says like 83% of Americans agree that we got to get this done. When Americans agree, it doesn't matter what race they are or anything else. They're just like, hey, we can't have criminals running around, Sheriff. We cannot have murderers and rapists and people who steal and wreak havoc. We just can't have these people here. Well, and I agree 100%.
That's exactly what the Democrats are still supporting. That's astonishing, Sam, that these Democrats are getting up there and saying, "Oh, you can't do this. You can't get the states involved. Nobody can help Tom Homan, and nobody can participate." And we didn't elect Elon Musk, and well, they didn't elect Tom Homan either. But he's doing his job, and the president can get all sorts of advisors on his cabinet that he wants, and so that's the way it's always been. Democrats, just so you know, cabinet members are not elected. They're appointed and then approved, and Tom Homan got approved, and Trump does not need to get approval for some of his close personal advisors. And however he wants to use Tom Homan, tell him to call me. I'll be an advisor for him, okay? And whether they approve me or not, I don't give a damn. I just want to get involved and help. And I want to ask the question first and foremost, why are we still funding Planned Parenthood? And why are we still allowing an illegal bullying organization like the IRS to exist? And when are we going to see the audit of the gold in Fort Knox? Yeah. Okay, I'm ready to go.
Well, and that's what we need more of. Okay, we need to realize that, hey, it's good that Florida sheriffs are taking the lead. And I'd like to see other states follow Florida's example on this, too. Hey, we can get this done if we all cooperate. And we're not even talking about legal people. We're talking about illegal. And I guess a lot of these news organizations get caught lying over and over and over. They go, oh, my gosh, you just arrested an innocent dad. Turns out the guy wasn't a dad, and he was an MS-13 gang member. And they lied and got caught lying. So we're having more and more truth to power on this. We've just got to keep up the fight and work hard on this, folks. I think it's one of the most important things. And headline says Florida aims to be number one in helping Trump administration arrest illegal aliens and deport them. And I support it 1,000%. Now, I get that when we get to people who aren't criminals, they're just here illegally for different reasons. Hey, a background check of who they are and understanding. And I believe there's some mercy to the plan. But not when we're being opposed by all these, sanctuary cities and everything else. And so, hey, we need more about Operation Stone Garden, right? I mean, isn't that the key to this?
Operation Stone Garden?
That's what it's called, yeah. It's an ongoing program that allows local law enforcement to work with the feds.
Oh, yeah.
To find and arrest illegal aliens.
Sam, why is Florida doing such a good job? Because all 67 sheriffs are on board with helping. Doesn't matter what party they are. They're all on board trying to help. And isn't that the sheriff's job, to try to get rid of the criminal element in their counties? Isn't that what every sheriff's supposed to be doing?
Absolutely.
So, man, yeah.
Well, what Trump needs to do is help us with some money and help us go across the country and train sheriffs. This could be one of the greatest opportunities we have right now to train sheriffs as to their responsibility related to this, right?
Let me make this announcement right now, Sam, and you can help remind me. But if the United States Congress and or the White House continue to allow in any way, whether it's their fault or not, but Congress allows Planned Parenthood to continue to receive taxpayer dollars for their organization, I will sue on the 14th Amendment of Equal Protection under the law. I will sue the United States government and say, why is it that you fund some organizations that are private and not mine? Because we are very much into protecting civil rights. We do more for civil rights than any other organization in the United States, maybe in the world. But we do more on civil rights to protect the rights of individuals against any abuse, no matter where it comes from. We are there more than the NAACP, more than Planned Parenthood. Planned Parenthood doesn't do it anyway. And why? How is it that Congress has the authority to pick and choose which private organizations they give taxpayer dollars to, funneling taxpayer dollars to these illegal organizations to begin with? I will sue on that. And my lawyer, and I'm sure he'll take it, Larry Klayman.
Well, there you have it. We certainly need to do more in this regard. And again, with these illegals, hey, we need to get the rhetoric out of the media, and we need to simply start to, penalize these sanctuary cities. You got AOC literally training people how to avoid deportation. When is AOC going to go to jail or answer for that?
Did you see her answer? They asked her about that. Did you see her answer?
So what? Who cares? I'm in.
No, she was a little bit more guarded than that. Her response was measured, especially after she got her attorney involved. And she said, I am only doing this for my constituents. And he said, well, aren't you inviting illegal aliens to come to this? No, they didn't. Aren't you inviting immigrants of all status to come to these? I am inviting only my constituents. And so she had to say that, Sam, in order to avoid being criminally investigated. She still could be.
Tom Holman says she's still under criminal investigation. The problem is I don't hear much about it.
No, it's not a real strong case. But because if she is inviting criminal aliens to come to it, then she could be in trouble. But yeah, it's not a strong case one way or the other, because it really is an invitation to the public. And if she's not going to ID people to come to her meeting, so she doesn't have to. But she said the wrong thing to begin with. But her attorney obviously got her going the other way. And she's a very ignorant person to begin with. She does not know the proper role of government. She doesn't even know what government is for. And so we're stuck with another pretty face that does have some charisma and does have some good speaking abilities here and there, but she's very ignorant on most of what government's supposed to do and the congressional body that she's a part of.
So my question is, AOC really under investigation? I hope so, but I see that everything the Republicans do is talk. The Democrats arrest people.
I don't think she is.
The Democrats arrest people. The Republicans just babble at the mouth. I just don't see any action.
Yeah, the biggest one right there, Sam, is what happened to our gold. I mean, they were making a big deal out of it at the beginning. and so are they going to audit the Fed? Are they going to audit the Federal Reserve?
No. And they're not going to go into Fort Knox and show you the gold either.
No.
And they're not going to arrest and prosecute really the criminals either. I mean, it's good to deport illegal alien criminals. I get it and agree with them. Let's support them 100%. What about arresting and prosecuting to the fullest extent of the law the people like Maxine Waters that have literally hired renter riots and done all these different things? Let's trace the money and start arresting people. But all we get is the judges shut Donald down, right? And then we back off and say, oh, golly, sorry, we went afoul of that. Let's create a lawsuit and go to court for 20 years over it and then lose. Or maybe win, but it's too late, so it doesn't matter. It's that kind of stuff. All right, hour one in the can. The good chair's with me. Join the posse today at CSPOA.org. We've got a great guest coming up. Hang tight.